lust, admiration, appreciation, familiarity, pity, longing, nostalgia, resignation, fear. Mazda Miatas, okay, MX-5 Miatas, have been a part of our lives for so long that, at one time or another, we've felt nearly every way about the world's most familiar roadster. But we would never say that we felt nurturing of a Miata. Or protective. At least we didn't until we took delivery of a 2016 MX-5 Miata Club. Maybe it's the size of the thing, trim and light and infused with a youthful vigor, that pulled out of us the parental instinct. We suppose that the Camaro SS, which we had in the long-term fleet at the same time, also brought out that part of us. But in that case, it was more like being the parents of a teenager with wayward tendencies. The Miata seemed a little more vulnerable, the one that was more likely to get hurt than to hurt others, thanks perhaps to the profusion of SUVs and trucks on our roads. This despite the best efforts of Mazda's designers, who decided it was finally time to let go of the retro adorability that has been the car's hallmark since 1989. The newest Miata still shares the general layout and seating capacity of the old British roadsters that inspired the first one. But where there once were wide-eyed hopeful peepers reminiscent of bug-eye sprites, there are now fierce little eyes glowering under a low, angry brow. The new car is to old Miatas what the Gremlin is to the Mogwai. And unlike the happy primary colors of the earliest Miatas, this car is offered in white, off-white, gray, and black. Yes, a red is available for an extra $300 and also a blue on the best equipped models, but even these colors are moody, as if always reflecting overcast skies. We chose ceramic metallic, a no-cost light gray dingy white that looks as if it would always be cool to the touch. Combined with dark wheels, our long-termer looked about as sinister as if Miata is ever going to. And though it shares its 155 horsepower 2.0-liter four-cylinder with every other new Miata sold in the United States, our model is probably the best performing version available. The mid-level Club, which started at $29,420 for 2016, comes with a clutch-type limited slip differential, a strut tower brace, and a sportier-than-stock suspension tune that includes Bilstein dampers. Well, Club models come with that equipment provided you order yours with the 6-speed manual transmission. You know you should do that, right? The Club also rides on 17-inch dark painted wheels wearing 205/45 R17 Bridgestone Potenza S001 summer tires. We specified only two options, the $3,400 Brembo BBS package, which you'll be shocked to learn brings Brembo front brakes with red painted calipers, and 17-inch BBS wheels in the same dark finish as the standard Club wheels. That package also includes side sill and rear apron extensions along with keyless entry. We like the BBS design, and Mazda says each wheel is 2 pounds lighter than the standard club unit. The Brembos promise greater fade resistance, and we found none in repeated full force stops from 70 miles per hour. We also threw in all-season floor mats for $90 because, like all our long-termers, the Miata would suffer through Michigan's winter, 2 of them in this case. The total cost came to $32,910. It's really the things that come standard on all Miatas, though, that define it. That short throw shifter, which was a revelation more than 20 years ago, remains a joy to use. Despite a switch to electric power assist, the steering is plenty talkative, if not in comparison with earlier Miatas then at least in comparison with other current cars. The soft top still drops with a wrist toss and can be raised easily with the same arm almost as quickly with only a single shoulder rotation. The car feels balanced and natural in corners with an easy give and take of forces and responses. The clutch pedal, shifter, and throttle pedal work together so seamlessly that you sort of forget that they are separate systems. The Miata remains the jet trainer of the sports car world. Fat, gummy tires and stonking power don't deliver this sort of driving joy, despite what some makers of sporty cars seem to believe. It's about usable performance. It's about flirting with the limits without necessarily flirting with disaster. In a Miata, old or new, the sensation of speed is greater than the actual speed. It's the inverse of many hyperstable Autobahn stormers, which are capable of tremendous stability and are quiet at hideous speeds, but at the expense of the experience of speed. The Miata is not slow, however. Our test numbers were impressive. It made it to 60 miles per hour in 5.8 seconds at the beginning of our loan and added only a tenth of a second at the end. It posted quarter-mile times, beginning and end, of 14.6 seconds. Yes, we hear you, a Honda Civic Type R will crush those times. And that's true. It's also true that not all that long ago, a 14-second quarter mile was a Mustang GT time. .70 miles per hour braking performance was excellent, 158 feet at the beginning and 162 feet at the end. And the Miata posted 0.88 grams on the skid foot at both tests. It's telling that in 40,000 miles, not one staffer complained about the level of power. Nor did anyone complain about any other performance aspect of the car. Well, one person whined that the steering effort was too light. A couple of staffers complained about the body roll in the corners, implying that the car was too soft. But the rest of us registered it as feedback, smoothly raising the alarm about an impending loss of traction. We do acknowledge that its body lean is slightly inconsistent with its new modern visage. View 147 photos. The gripes we did register were fairly predictable for a car so obsessively focused on its fun-to-drive character. The thing is loud, especially on the expressway. Really loud. It makes 90 decibels of racket at wide open throttle and 80 decibels at a steady 70 miles per hour cruise. Unfortunately, this is not the blare of a wound-up Ferrari engine. There is a lot of wind noise. A lot of road noise. We take our sound level readings with the top up and found that dropping the top brought some auditory relief by smothering the din with wind rush. It's like turning off white noise to drown out a nearby leaf blower. Also, the Miata is, wait for it, small. Not everyone fits. We recommend you try one on for size before committing. When driving the Miata, our largest human looked like a circus bear riding a bicycle. Surely Mazda could have added more sound-deadening materials to the thing. The company could have spec'd a thicker sound-absorbing top. It could have done much to isolate the driver from the noisy bits of the car and from the outside world, but that would have added weight. And because the company didn't do those things, it brought the car down to an impressively low 23-24 pounds. What we just did in the above paragraph is what most of our staffers did in the Miata's logbook over the 20 months the car was in our care. Bring up an annoyance, no heated seats or telescoping steering wheel, for example, and then immediately forgive the shortcomings since, most of the time, curing the issue would involve adding weight or complexity that would detract from the core of what a Miata is. Suffice it to say that, while the Miata will deliver a truly excellent 32 miles per gallon in mixed driving, it's not designed to be a commuter car. To use one as such, especially through the winter, will highlight a few things that might be considered faults in, say, a Honda Civic. During the coldest parts of winter, the Miata developed a rough idle, and the top mechanism squeaked in about 10 different places. And since the top was always up in the winter, the car was loud. But as a measure of our protectiveness toward the Miata, we sought to make excuses for its foibles as an everyday transportation pod. Instead of "this car sucks in the winter," one staffer wrote, "This poor car does not deserve a Michigan winter." When the Miata visited California, an LA area miscreant kicked out one of its taillights for no apparent reason. The logbook writer went on a furious rant, referring to the purpose of FGSG and questioning his own faith in humanity. And after LAS Park by Touch Morons damaged both the front and rear fascias, we felt we should bring the car back to our Michigan home, where we would fix it and protect it from such callousness. The Miata was clearly going to have to fail spectacularly for us to give it a negative review, and it did not. In fact, nothing of consequence failed on the thing, at least not of its own accord. We replaced a mass airflow sensor at 20,344 miles under warranty. And on several occasions, we had to reset the tire pressure monitoring system, an easy push of a button, when we got erroneous warnings, usually on especially cold days. And, well, that was it. Otherwise, the car ran and drove faultlessly, within the context of its mission. You see, our little guy has heart and personality. And what he does well, he does spectacularly well. So what if he talks loudly? What we like, they say you shouldn't mix drugs, but we've found great success with the practice. Our most recent concoction is one of our best. Take one 2016 Mazda MX-5 Miata and a liberal helping of spring sunshine, and the result is way better than whatever prescription you're on, Joybutrin, Oesomox, etc. And that is what we like best about the Miata, which is near to finishing its 40,000-mile test. Everyone and everything in the upper Midwest suffers from the multi-month dirge that is winter. That includes the Miata, which developed a sad shiver at idle during particularly cold months. The cold also gave rise to a chorus of squeaks from the car's top. But let's not dwell on such things. The shiver has subsided. The squeaks have largely disappeared. The sun is up. The plants are giddily spewing their powdery gametes all over everything. It's a time of love and happiness. It is Miata time. What we don't like, winter. What went wrong? We got a few erroneous tire pressure warnings, while the Miata wore its Bridgestone Blizzak winter tires. Each time, we'd stop, check the pressures, which were always fine, then reset the tire pressure monitoring system, and all would be well. For a while, anyway. It was inconvenient, particularly when outside temperatures hovered around frostbite territory, but at least it was easy to reset. We took the little guy into the dealer for an oil change and inspections when its service light came on. Oddly, that happened only about 5,000 miles after our previous service, which included an oil change. The mileage intervals between earlier oil changes were 10,000 and 8,500 miles. In winter, the car did fewer long-distance drives and more short hops, so perhaps that explains the shorter interval. Regardless, the most recent service was entirely routine and cost all of $88. View 147 photos where we went. We've kept our little runabout on a fairly short leash since our last update. It took us to family get-togethers in Indiana, Ohio, western Michigan, and way up north to Michigan's Upper Peninsula, where the Miata was mistaken for an unusually pale pasty and almost eaten.